Welcome to Lykken on Lending, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the mortgage industry. Your host, David Lykken, bringing you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. Whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, this show is your go-to source for all things mortgage. Let's get started. This is Lykken on Lending. Now your host, David Lykken.
Listeners, welcome back to another podcast with the Lykken on Lending, and we're focusing again on Angel AI and more focused on artificial intelligence. Joining me on the podcast today is my good friend Pavan. Good to have you back, Pavan.
It's great to be back, and we have two amazing guests on today. And actually, I think two incredible kids that have built an incredible mortgage company in Scottsdale, Arizona. And relative to me and you, David, yes, they are kids. Probably more so to me than to you.
Yeah, more like grandkids for me. I'm at 74. They look pretty young. Anyway, really. So the name Chris and Collin, right? So tell us a little bit about your company, Chris and Collin. We're going to come back and talk more about it, but give us our audience a little bit. Who are you guys, and how long you've been in business, and a little background of how you're going about this. I'm assuming you're retail loan originators.
Yeah, so we started back in February of 23, and then Collin joined us. I think you're the first employee, Collin, or the second?
I think I was the first.
I think you're the first, yeah. So then Collin came over. We took our time. Market was a little slow, so we had no idea what we were doing. So we took a while to really get up and running. And then once we did, we got Collin. We're like, oh, this works. Let's do more. And then we just kept getting more people, and it kept working. And yeah, we're just going to keep it going. We were fumbling around, figuring it out. And SunWest has been, just have to dive right into it. And Angel AI has been our biggest partner and very big part of our success. So we're happy to come and talk about all this stuff today because we're actively using the AI, and it's working great for us.
That's good. We want to hear about that. Pavan, I want to come back to you. One of the things you and I have been talking about, and I've been hearing about, and I reached out to you to have you on this podcast to talk about cognitive AI versus AI. I've been doing some research on this. Cognitive AI, listeners, is more replicating human thought, the critical thought processes. Pavan, that's a brief, maybe a reckless introduction on it. Would you walk our listeners through the difference between AI, which we're hearing about so much across the industry, and cognitive AI?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the term that the tech industry has been using is called artificial general intelligence, AGI. And if you listen to Sam Altman or Mark Zuckerberg, they'll be talking about this. AGI is coming. Elon Musk says that all the time. And I think that's what you mean by cognitive AI. We're going to use the term artificial general intelligence, AGI. So here's what a human or a human child, in the first time you saw a water bottle, you'd see an example of a water bottle. And here's an example of a water bottle. And all you'd ever need is these two examples. And then you see any other bottle, right? If you saw a third bottle, you would be like, yeah, that's a bottle. And so if you were a human and then you see this, a glass, okay, you would know that's not a water bottle, or that's not a bottle. But in today's AI, if it only had these two samples, it cannot determine that this is not a bottle. It would probably guess that it is a bottle because it has more properties that are like a bottle than are not.
For our listeners who are just listening to the audio version of water bottle, like bottled water that you buy in a vendor, and then he's holding up like a cup that's obviously as open at the top you'd pour the water into. So what you're talking about is AI can't discern that, but you're saying AGI can?
Right. AGI will be able to take a limited amount of data, like two samples like this,
right,
and then conclude that something like this cup
and he's holding up
is not, at least it should be able to conclude that it's not a bottle.
Okay.
It may not know that it's a cup, but at least it would know it's not a bottle. And so that's the difference between AGI and today's AI. In order for today's AI to identify, if you take a picture of bottles, then it identifies all the bottles relative to the rest of the surrounding. It has to be trained with millions of pictures of bottles. And then any new bottle that it sees, which is a slight variation, of an existing bottle. Maybe you see another bottle that doesn't have ridges or doesn't have this blue label on it or something, right? It would say that's close enough, right? It's within the error tolerance, and that's going to be a bottle. So that's how current AI works, is that it needs a lot of sample data. And then if you have a lot of sample data, you draw like a fuzzy graph around it. So there's a tolerance of maybe 5% difference. So if you're within that 5%, you're going to say, okay, those are bottles. So if the tolerance is narrow, and you feed it with lots of data, you can then, for most practical purposes, detect a bottle.
Let's take that and equate that to now as a mortgage example. That's a great example. We have two objects that are slightly different, but they're bottles of water. So now bring that forward to a mortgage. How does that relate to a mortgage example? This is important, listeners, because a lot of people are out there. We're hearing more and more about AI. We've got AI, and they may have a version of it. It's still impressive, but it's still elementary to what you've developed at Angel AI. So, and that brings us what cognitive or AGI is in the mortgage world.
Yeah. So the race right now, AGI doesn't exist. There's a race to create AGI so that with limited amount of input, you can deduce a conclusion. The human brain is able to, with very little training data, it's able to deduce and create new output. The world doesn't, at least as far as we know. There's some rumors ChatGPT, OpenAI has it working inside, and who knows what they have and haven't disclosed.
Did you hear about that one that they said that they were going to delete it and then it started like cloning itself through a backdoor into another folder? Did you hear about that?
I heard about that, yeah. Tried to escape.
We're gonna upgrade you or delete you or whatever, and then it started like fragmenting itself and putting it into different folders so you couldn't physically delete it or something like that.
Wow, that's the HAL computer in that movie. He starts self-preservation. That's interesting.
Yeah. Again, it's not self-preservation. It's just training data. That's all it is, right?
Okay.
You're like, it doesn't work like that. It's not that smart. Not self-aware.
Right. So, Pavan, so again, the example for the mortgage world, give us an example of the real world. So that's a correction I need to have. I thought there was already some AGI in the market and in Angel AI. It's not. So what is it that you have currently? It's artificial intelligence, and you've trained it on hundreds of thousands of loans that you've run and been working on for the last 24 years. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So I'd love to say we came out with the artificial general intelligence and win that prize and make all that money, but no, we haven't come out with that with AGI. I understand the approach. I understand how that is being attacked, but that's not our mission. Our mission is not to be the tip of the sword in AI research. Okay, our mission is not to come out with the next thinking machine. Okay, our mission is, however, to be the tip of the sword on delivering AI to uplift humanity. It's two very different missions.
And you started in the mortgage space. You've now added other things, credit repair and some other things that are very significant to help people on that. So that's all good. That gives me some idea about cognitive, which is AGI, and we're not quite there yet. Any idea when we will see that?
The Musk and Sam Altman has said they expect to see it within the next 2 years, maybe 3 years. But they've also been trimming down their definition of AGI. So they're lowering expectations. They put the date out there. They put it out there a while ago, and the share prices are driven by this date. So now they're trying to redefine it. They're doing some expectation management, because I think real AGI that they're trying to achieve is the AGI in the true sense of it. I think it's a ways away. I think it's going to require some breakthroughs. However, there was a recent breakthrough which could really help us along, which is the new Google quantum chip, which is fascinating. I'm still studying that. So maybe the next podcast we do, I can do a deep dive into the quantum chip and explain
if it's going to be the NVIDIA killer or not. So there's a lot. Yeah. But what you have built is up and running. It's very powerful. There are some, unfortunately, the older ones in the industry are not getting it. But we have Chris and Collin joining us on the podcast. I'm really interested as to what you guys saw and how are you guys different? Why are you seeing it and using it? And I want to get into, so I'll answer that question first, then we'll get into how you're using it. But what is it that you saw? Why are you guys so different for so many in the industry that are saying, oh, that's interesting, but we're sticking with our old tech stack and our old ways of going about things. Why did you see it differently?
To be honest, we were getting phone calls from a gentleman named Raj, and he would call incessantly from SunWest, and I would almost, it was like a running joke about, oh, we got a call from Raj again. And he kept saying, oh, next day approval, your loan will be underwritten by morning. And that's what got my attention, because that's huge. Time is everything for us and for the borrowers. Want it done, and so do we. And it's better when it's fresh on your mind. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a go. So then we tossed a couple loans in with them. We're still not using.
You tossed a couple of loans that you signed up.
This was
SunWest.
mortgages with SunWest, right?
Oh, this is what you're doing mortgage with SunWest.
Yeah. So then I'm like, I don't know, like how to work this system. And then there's just this button that's like Angel AI. And so I click on it and I go, hey, how do I do this? Boom, answer. How do I do this? Answer. Can you change the loan amount and change the lock and do all this? And I'm like asking it stuff. I'm like, there's no way it's going to do this. And then it just does it. I'm like, this is awesome. So we're blown away. And then I remember looking at people and being like, have you tried this thing? Like, and then he's not on here, but he is on, figured out the full pane one, where you can have 20 different tasks going. And so if you were to come in the office and look at my screen on a given day, I have 20 of these chats for different loans going. Each one's like the loan number. And I'm working all of them simultaneously.
I mean, there's a reality that Pavan, Angel AI, has created something that does not exist in the market. It's not
You don't even need to be a loan officer either. You can just get it on your phone. You download Angel AI on the App Store. Like, I can log into my portal from my phone and upload like insurance for a condition, or it's just like very easy.
So, Chris, you started looking at it, then you have that open. We interviewed Jennifer Martinez, which has been a pretty experienced user of Angel AI, and she says now she has the same thing. She has a session open for every single loan. Is it a case? Is that how you refer to it? I'm still not. Is it considered a case or an Angel AI for every single loan? Is that right?
Like a task, I think they call it.
They call it errands, because you're giving her an errand to run.
Okay. So you had 10 or 20 of those open on your computer at any given time, just doing different things. It's like having a whole room full of assistants right outside your door.
It is. Yes. It's honestly incredible. It works so well. And when you start using it, you can mix it up if you try to ask 15 questions in a row and it thinks it's the same errand. So I could see how someone could just be like, oh, it doesn't work right if they did it that way. But if you just split them all out and give each errand, that's probably why you call it errands, because that's what it is. It's like, I want you to do this. And you give it one thing at a time. I'll get done and I'll get done.
So again, Collin, tell us your journey into this. How did you discover it? Obviously, the company's starting to use it. And what caught your attention and how are you using it?
Chris said we should start putting more loans with SunWest because of how fast Angel AI was. And I was like, all right, we'll see how this is.
Typical attitude, I mean, so many do.
It's just so new. It's just that if they're integrating AI into these portals, I'm thinking in my head, oh, this is probably going to slow the portal down. It's going to be like, I'm going to be sitting with a spinny thing the whole time on my computer, which is not the case. Like Chris was showing me on there that you can even tell her like faster and she'll be quicker.
Yeah.
You're like waiting on stuff. Like you can ask her the ETA. She'll be like 10 minutes. You can know 5 minutes and she'll do it in 5 minutes. Like I
think that's sometimes when a real person's doing it. So you're
really,
wow.
No, but it's incredibly fast. It's like insane. Like it's just dealing with other mortgage companies outside of SunWest. There's 2 or 3 hours you wait to talk to someone where you have AI right there to talk to you and she'll get back to you in 5 minutes. Like very fast. They'll give you the ETA.
And you never have to wonder sometimes it was a pain. I remember when we started this, we had no idea what we were doing. And figuring out who you need to talk to solve a problem is half the battle sometimes. And that just doesn't exist with Angel AI because you just tell it and it knows the right person and it already figures all that out for you. Your message always ends up in the right place.
Because I think you showed me that you can schedule the calls with the underwriter on there. So be like, yeah, I need the underwriter to call me. And it'll be like, it'll set you an appointment with the underwriter and everything. It's just, instead of shooting a million emails back and forth, it's incredible.
Quantitatively, what is this doing for your business? Is it reducing costs? Is it's speed? You already talked about speed.
Time.
Service to the buyer.
It's time to close. We can close a loan. And what's the quickest we close a loan, Chris? 9 days, 10 days, something like that with something?
Yes. 7, just because that's the guideline for the LE. Yeah. And we've done many loans in 7 days because of that. I think reducing costs isn't really how I'd put it. Now, SunWest does have very competitive pricing, especially on lower FICO Govy, they're unmatched. So that, but
Yeah.
more than anything, what they've done is increase revenue for us, because if my time's not getting sucked into a bunch of clerical nonsense, then I can focus on what actually matters. And that's what we've done. We could do double the volume with them, maybe more, for the same amount of work as it would be with anybody else. So it really frees us up. And I don't have to hire 20 processors to accomplish that.
Chris, is there any staffing implications as a result? In other words, you're having to not hire as many people?
It's either I'm not having to hire as many people, or I'm letting the bankers aren't getting slowed down, because
Yeah.
if I want the bankers to move fast, I can either hire someone to do things for them, or they can be slowed down and do it themselves. And with this, they don't get slowed down. So I don't even really have to think about hiring someone to clear some of that stuff up. Also, if you do hire people, they could ramp up faster. Say you do need some people. This is not hard to learn. It's very intuitive. And if somebody can't figure it out, they probably shouldn't be working for us anyway. So we could grow very quickly. It takes that whole piece of the puzzle away.
So even like a teacher, if I ask it something I have no idea, just some obscure one-off loan question, it knows it. So I'm like, so
Is there a way that you're asking the question, Collin? Because I was talking to a guy that one of my clients, I've been trying to get interested in Angel AI yesterday. So I asked it a complicated question. It says, I'll get back to you in 15 minutes. I didn't know that you could ask it. It said, no, I need it in 5.
if it's like clearly laid out in text and you say it, I'd be like, what, like 15 minutes? You can get it to go in 5.
Wow.
Like, no, I need it quicker. Speed up the ETA.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So walk me through, if you guys would, how you secured a loan and you're working. Let's start with working with realtors. You guys, there's so many features now as far as creating listings, and Angel AI can create a website for the realtor on a property, things like that. Are you guys using those elements of it?
I didn't even know that existed. I use it
know.
just at a loan level, really, but
At a loan level. There's
little
some
research.
features there when you're working with realtors. You can literally go out and create a website for a property. And how long does that take to do that, Pavan?
Takes a few minutes for the realtor, and the site will be up in an hour or something. So what you guys can do is you can create co-branded.
It's like it just automatically pops it up, or you have to pay
No,
for
it's
it.
all automatic. So you can create co-branded listing sites for your realtor. So it's you and the realtor on one site with all the programs laid out, and so it's beautiful. And yeah,
give that a go. Yeah, Monday.
That's
It's
sweet.
better than
Yeah.
using any of the third-party tools, because there'll be no ads or anything on it. It's just you and the realtor. You can also create co-branded, just general sites, just a landing page for the realtor with you on it, or just a landing page for the realtor by himself. And I was talking to a couple of top producers yesterday or the day before. So when I was in Vegas, you met them at the party, by the way. So
Yeah.
when I was in Vegas, I was talking, I met the next day with 2 big producers in Vegas. I lunch with them, and they love the idea that Angel AI creates the pages for them and the listing sites for them, because in their mind, it's like having Gmail, where any sites that created by Angel AI is theirs and stays with them, doesn't matter what franchise they move to. So if they move from franchise A to franchise B, normally you would end up losing the listings in your sites. Since Angel is agnostic, everything will stay with them. Just like your Gmail account. It doesn't matter who you work for, your Gmail account stays with you.
So it almost is your business, is what you're saying, right?
It's not tied to Remax or Keller Williams or whatever. Everything just Angel AI, right? It's not tied to any brokerage.
Yeah.
So therefore,
So basically, the realtor's book of business, or like their listing, is what you're
Yes.
saying, right?
so their storefront is basically not tied to any franchise,
To their
and they can
existing company.
move whoever they want to and not lose their storefront. And so they love that part of it. So your realtors can create their own storefront specific to them, and you can also create additional storefronts with you and the realtor co-branded on one storefront. So you could have a Chris and John Doe, Realtor John, co-branded storefront, and you can have Realtor John by himself. And you can have Chris and Realtor John listing site, and that generates all kinds of listing flyers, social media posts, and everything with the two of you branded together.
That's powerful. That's a powerful too. I wasn't sure if you guys were aware they were using that or not.
Also can create country alliance sites So you can create angelai.com/countryalliance/Chris. Okay, it'll create that site for you, and it'll be all branded Country Alliance with all of Country Alliance's logo and licensing and everything. And it will have 10,000 flyers pre-made in there for every product under the sun. And you can just click and you can scroll through the flyers, all preset with your branding, your pictures, and everything, and all in compliance. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to buy anything.
So you guys now got some new tools you could use. So let's start with how you're using it. If you guys could walk us through let's say you were talking to one of our listeners and you're saying, this is how I use it. Walk us through, where do you start interacting with Angel AI?
So usually for me, it's AWC. So when a loan gets approved with conditions, they put a whole bunch in. Sometimes you have questions on them, and I'll go in, and if there's anything that I perceive to be a problem, because I'm not going to process like all the loans myself.
When you first take a loan application, how are you currently taking the loan application?
We're taking it in our LOS typically.
So you have your own LOS that you're still using for that.
Yeah.
And then at what point do you start interacting with Angel?
That would be right. For us, we do it generally right after approved with conditions. So we'll disclose just in SunWest portal. We're not really talking to Angel AI at that point. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes, but we don't think of it that way. And then at AWC, then we're asking questions on conditions. Is this necessary? Can we solve this way instead? Providing clarification. It's done some really impressive stuff that I've asked it to do before too. Once you get closer to closing and you're trying to redisclose some things, or say you're failing VA recoup, and there's this weird math that you have to do between like lender credits and also reducing the loan amount to try to, if you got to do it to meet recoup, you don't want to take it too far. And I've had them incrementally go down. I phrased it just like that. It was like, hey, so incrementally reduce this and this by this much until it passes. Like you tell that to anybody else and they're like, yeah, go to hell. But it just happened. I was like, I'm just going to see how far we can take this. And I asked it and I was like, oh my God, that worked. Wow, that's great. Probably saved us thousands of dollars, just that one thing.
Chris, we use it to clear stoppers when we're trying to get disclosures out too.
Yeah.
If there's a weird obscure stopper on something I messed up on the 1003, it'll tell me go back and it'll have me correct it.
Yeah, if you just ask it, hey, please fix this, it'll just say fix.
Yeah.
So if you get stuck, it's not a frustrating process. It gets solved like right away.
Looking for, Pavan, you want to interject anything in here as you listen to how they're using it? Obviously, there's a lot more Angel AI than what you guys are even aware of at this point, seeing as you're fairly new in the process. But you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, we can get you set up with some training, because you can skip the web portal altogether and you can start from Angel and show you the disclosures.
Well, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we'd love that.
You can import the 1003 right into AI.
Yeah, you can just say, you can take your MISMO file, say I have a MISMO file, and then hit the paperclip and upload your MISMO file straight into it.
Wow, that's great.
And
what's so fun about this recording is, listeners, we're listening to organic realization. Already, you guys, we had you on because you are adopting it and using it effectively, but just a piece of it. And now even on this call, you're recognizing, so much more that this thing is capable.
Also, I think did you guys talk to Vanessa at the party in Vegas?
Collin and I were not at the last one. We were in the Diwali one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. The way Vanessa, she's in your neck of the woods. And when she takes a loan app, and when all of our internal loan officers take a loan app, they just send the link to Angel AI to the borrower. Okay, so then when the borrower clicks the link, they're notified. And then so you're chatting with the borrower and Angel AI at the same time. Wow. So you can watch the borrower take the loan app in real time. And that solves a big problem, because this way borrowers don't feel disconnected. Because if the borrower just gets a link and their email and then they're on their own, then they're like, okay, what's Collin doing for me? I feel like I'm doing everything on my own here.
Yeah.
But whereas if you do it with the borrower, and a lot of agents, what they do is they'll log into Angel and they'll start a loan app process, and then they'll hit the invite friend button, and then they'll invite the borrower to that conversation.
I was unaware there was an invite.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
We have
Looks like we
access
got some more to
to the
learn.
broker side.
There's
Yeah.
so many things when we all work with technologies we all have for years. There's all these new features on the technology we've had available to us. And so I'm always learning new things on my own.
Yeah. Have you guys ever attended a workshop?
No, I'm very bad about doing that kind of thing. But based on this conversation, I probably will.
Yeah, they cover all this in the workshop. It's only 1 hour. So I'll put in the chat the link to or you could just go to Angel AI and then just say workshop. That's the prompt. And then she'll ask you for when you want it and it'll be scheduled. And you'll get a Zoom link and somebody will arrive over Zoom and they'll walk you through it. And you could,
Awesome.
and it's one-on-one training with the live person and you can do as many as you want, whenever you want them.
Great. Yeah. And that's the part that blows me away at no cost.
And it's live, so you can just ask a person your specific. You guys are pros and use this a while, so you could dig into specifics, and that person will answer what would go into those particular areas. Seems like there's a lot of basics. I think you guys probably just need kind of a basic one, just get the overview. So I would recommend the first workshop, just have them do their spiel, and so you get the high level, and then do another one after that, and then you can start digging into specifics.
But already what you guys are telling me and what I'm wanting to share with our audience is you're already just working at the level you are working at. It's providing you tremendous benefit.
Oh, absolutely. And like the disclosure thing, that was the reason I had to bully Collin into starting to use SunWest more.
And if you start the app from Angel, your borrowers will have a really good experience because the whole app is less than 20 questions for the borrower.
Yeah.
So the borrower,
awesome.
Literally, we've seen borrowers go in and out in under 3 minutes.
Wow.
This is the application for them to fill it out, or is this after we send
the actual loan application?
So I just tell them, be like, Angel AI, please send the borrower the link
Correct.
to the application.
You could do that. But what I recommend is you go into Angel and you do an invite friend and you invite the borrower. So you guide him in through the process. So they're with you. So when
I got a hypothetical scenario for you, Pavan. Let's say I run into you at a bar, right? And and then we're talking. I'm like, hey, I'm a loan officer, and then you're telling me that you want to buy a house, right? If I have the app on my phone and I plug in his information, I said, hey, please send so and so the app. Can I fire the link to you from my phone, or do I have to be physically in front of a computer to send you?
You can fire the link from your phone. You could. Okay, so if you were with me, this is the way I would do it if I were you. I would tell Angel, okay, Collin, Stodghill, here's his phone number, here's his email address, and he wants to buy a house. And you probably already had a conversation, right? And you're going to say, purchasing a house in Scottsdale, and he can afford about $400,000, whatever. I don't know. Can he even buy a house in Scottsdale, $400,000? It's probably too rough.
That's a little.
That's a trailer.
Yeah.
We can double that.
Yeah. So, anyways. Right. I would just give the basic information, Angel, and say start a loan number, and then Angel would generate the loan number. Okay. And then I would click the invite friend button on Angel. Okay. And then I would invite Collin into that same, and then you would get a text message saying, hey, you've been invited to Pavan invited you into Angel, and you click the link, and now we're both talking in the same conversation.
Nice.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
Text is so much better.
So you could be sitting next to each other and his phone will beep and he gets it. And then you would finish the loan application process before you finish the drink.
Nice line there.
Yes.
Yeah. When we ran the Super Bowl ads, we saw people come in, complete the application. So they responded to the ad, they went in, completed the application, and they were done in under 3 minutes. With applications being taken that quickly, because it doesn't take a full app. It only asks what it absolutely needs to ask, and the rest then it gives you a list of documents. I need pay stubs, payments, whatever, and you take pictures of that, and it'll take the rest of the tenancy information. It'll take from the documents. There's no reason to ask a borrower to fill in a long 1003. That's the number one friction. That's where you lose customers. Usually is when you send the link. They look at it, they're like, they get sick of it and they go away.
Intimidating. They're like, oh, this is going to be work.
Yes. Instead, it only asks the basic necessity questions. Okay. And then it tells them, when you get a chance, take a picture of these documents and upload them. That's it.
That's incredible.
Collin, I'm gonna have to try this on you
right.
when we get off.
I think one of the things you guys should do is try the invite friend on each other, see how that goes, and
We will.
and try doing a loan app on each other and see how that goes.
That's awesome.
So this has been one of those fun interviews where you realize we're talking to people who have two individuals who started using it. Now we discovered they're only using a fraction of it, but the value of what you're using is so significant. It's changing the way you're doing your business.
Yeah, it absolutely
And about ready to change it even more.
And I'm going to clarify a couple of things. First, the URL David gave was angel.ai, and please do not hit that URL because that is a dating site or something.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That is right.
It's angelai.com.
Yeah, angelai.com. Yeah. And then, but the other one is Ask Angel.
If you want to go straight to the app, you go to Ask Angel.
I'm aware that Angel AI has also a slot machine where you can win merchandise.
Yes.
We have won quite a bit. We have a whole box of shirts that's
Merch.
sitting in our sister's office.
Yeah, you get to play it once a day. Yeah, I have a lot of people who will get up in the morning. The first thing to do is they play that slot because they're hooked on it.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Still trying to win the mug.
They're trying to win the mug.
Yeah, I'll have
that mug.
Oh, wait. See, if you were in Vegas, if you came to the party, you would have had a mug. It was in
next one.
It was in the backpack. Everyone got a backpack full of goodies.
fun. It was a great party.
So, and then the other thing, I was giggling when you were talking about asking Angel to speed it up. If Angel gives an ETA, when you ask her something, and she'll give an ETA based on the worst of past experiences. Past history. So it's almost always comes in under anyways. So when you tell her to speed it up, you're just like, okay.
That's going to happen anyway.
It's going to happen anyway.
That's okay.
It's just funny because it's 15 minutes and it's like ETA now 5 minutes. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
For those that are listening as they go, I want to get to know these two guys. How can they get a hold of the two of you?
Chris at countryalliancemortgage.com.
Collin at countryalliancemortgage.com or Instagram.
Yep.
So it's Collin spelled Colin at countryalliancemortgage.com.
Yeah, and we'd love to share our experience with this with you guys too. I think Angel and I probably can teach you about itself better than we can. So I don't know if there would be much point to that, but yeah, we'd love to talk about it because it's made such a big difference to us, and we just feel like we owe you, Pavan.
Well,
what
I'm thinking about, Chris, is those that are listening to this and going, my company is never going to adopt this. I need to get with a company that does. And so I would assume my way of thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when it comes to recruiting and growing your company, you have a decided advantage over someone who is elected not to use or isn't using Angel AI.
Yeah, and ultimately, like money in production talks. So if we had a guy who's on Al Sharif and he did 7 million, the vast majority of it was with SunWest. He basically self-processed it all using Angel AI. And like, how many people can do that? And I promise that he could not have done that without working 16. He works a lot and works a lot of hours, but it'd be 16-hour days like every day to do that with some of these other places, unless they were just big loans, but they weren't. These were like 240,000, 270 average loan size. There was a lot of conditions that were cleared.
That's amazing. So much fun having you guys on. I want to say thank you so much for taking time out on a Saturday to get on with Pavan and I and sharing your experience. It's much appreciated, very much. And Pavan, thank you so much for coming on and talking about cognitive and helping us learn more as we go up the ladder of learning on AI.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
All right.
For having us.
All right, guys, have a great Merry Christmas. Appreciate you all.
Merry Christmas.
You've been listening to Lykken on Lending. Our passion is to bring you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. So on this show, if you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, it's your go-to source for all things mortgage. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Lykken on Lending.